Is it a good idea or is it the best idea? I was sitting down with a couple yesterday that was looking into doing a refinance with us, and unless you've lived under a rock for the last year, you probably have heard that mortgage rates are down and home values are up. And so like many people, these people were coming in to see if they could maybe lower their interest rate, lower their payment. And there's a couple things that I always ask when I sit down with someone that's considering doing a refinance. The first word or first question I ask is, how long do you plan on staying in the home? And so many people will look at me like, what does that have anything to do with refinancing? Well, it has a lot to do with it, because when we look at doing a refinance, let's say a rate and term refinance, when you're gonna try to drop your interest rate from one rate to a lower rate in hopes of reducing that monthly mortgage payment, it's really important that you understand what we call the recoup period. In other words, you might be saving $200 a month, but if it costs you $4,000 to do the loan and the lender adds that to your mortgage, you're not technically going to be saving money until you're 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And so if someone is in a house that they're not fully convinced they're going to be in for 4 or 5+ years, they may want to consider the cost of doing the refinance and what they really want to do within the next 5 years. So with this particular couple, and this is a common scenario, I said, well, if you're not quite sure you're going to stay in the house for 3 to 5 years, have you considered what the alternatives are? And at that time, they talked about some of the things that their house doesn't do for them that it did when they bought it. This particular family has 4 kids, they need more space, and they just had no idea if they would be able to afford another house. And so taking a few minutes, looking at what they could potentially sell their home for, looking at what a mortgage payment would be on a property that would be a move-up purchase for them. Like many people with current rates, they were quite surprised, and they ended up putting the refinance on hold until they investigate what it might look like to sell and purchase. And so it's really important when people sit down to look into a refinance that they consider, what the next 5 to 10 years looks like, because there's a lot of lenders online, there's a lot of companies out there right now that will just do a refinance to save someone $50 a month without helping them understand the benefits of potentially looking at buying a house and how long it's really going to take them before they're actually saving money. So something to really consider when you're looking into a refinance. Now, pulling in a quick slide here, the last thing that I always try to touch on is what mortgage rates are doing and what we expect them to do. Now, for those of you that have talked to me about refinancing, the question I always get asked is, what are mortgage rates going to do? I really have no idea, and anyone tells you that they know what's going to happen with mortgage rates or mortgage bonds or the stock market they really don't know. None of us know, but here's kind of some information that I thought could be helpful. This is from Freddie Mac. They expect mortgage rates to remain low over the next 2 years, averaging 3.8% in 2020 and 2021. And I would say that if I was going to bet, I would agree with that statement. I also wanted to bring up just the average rate over the last 5 decades to give you an idea of kind of where we're at today. In 1970s, the average mortgage rate was 8.86. In the 80s, it was 12.7. 90s, 8.12. The 2000s, 6.29, and then 2010, it was 4.09. So right now, we're obviously looking at some of the best rates we've seen in history. And if you haven't looked into refinancing, if you haven't looked at what the next move could look like, it's a great time to do that. We're heading into spring. This is when a lot of the homes that people have been waiting to sell all winter are going to be bringing to the market. Feel free to give us a call. And as always, I am so appreciative and grateful for all the support. We get so many referrals from our past clients. Thank you so much. Have a great month. And if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know.